Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick and today we're going to talk about some more X-Wing stuff that came out of Gen Con yesterday morning or a couple of nights ago if you're in America. Basically, in case you guys are not aware, FFG had their regular yearly in-flight conference at Gen Con and they dropped a lot of bombshells. I will just quickly mention that I made a video yesterday on the new card game from FFG Keyforge and a lot of new info has come up about that. We have demos and we have rules for it. So at some point over the next week, I'll make another video about that, talking a bit more in depth about the gameplay because the game looks absolutely excellent. In the meantime, let's get through all this X-Wing stuff. Starting off with the Wave 2 content for the Resistance. And for the Resistance, we have the conversion pack, the RZ2 A-Wing, and the T-70 X-Wing. And in the article we have here in front of us, we have 3 spreads. So let's move down to the first one, for example, and we have a whole bunch of cards from the conversion pack here. Now this does include cards for the T-70 X-Wing, but all of those cards will be available in the separate expansion pack. Just a couple of things we're seeing here on the spread for the T-70 X-Wing, which we don't see in the spread for the pack. We do have a card for the S-Foils, and this is a different S-Foil configuration card to the T-65 X-Wing. When they are closed, you at the very least get the barrel roll action, and if you have a look at the spacing on this card and compare it to the closed wings on the T-65, you see that that barrel roll action is going to be on top of another action, probably barrel roll to red focus if I had to guess. Apart from that, yes, there is some rules text on the card as well, but we can't read that just yet. Also, we have over here this Initiative 3 pilot, Joff something. I'm sure someone in the comment section will know what character that is. But apart from that, we'll cover the rest of the info we know about the T-70 when we get down to that spread. In terms of this spread, we have a couple of character cards, one for Rose Tycho and one for Finn. Now, Rose is a crew card and we don't know what her text says. That's all been obscured. But if we take a look at Finn and compare him to his old crew card, this new Finn, which is a gunner, seems to be functionally exactly the same. While you defend or perform a primary attack, if the enemy ship is in your forward arc, you may add 1 blank result to your roll. And there's some extra text here, but I'm pretty sure we can make it out. This says this die can be re-rolled or otherwise modified. And that was not clarified on the first one. I'm not sure why it is clarified on this one. I mean, I might be mistaken. It might say something slightly different. But it seemed for whatever reason in second edition they had to make that clarification. Maybe there's something in the rules about the way you can modify dice. Maybe in second edition, at least in one iteration of the rules they made, you're not supposed to be able to modify a dice that you add to your dice pool. Maybe it has some combination with some of the upgrade. Whatever. It just seems to be a functional reprint with a bit of extra clarification. And that is good. And what's particularly cool about Finn is we now have this card over here, Heroic, which is one of the many adjective cards. We get one on every single faction that kind of describes the mentality of this faction. In the case of Resistance, we have Heroic. And Heroic reads, when you defend or perform an attack, if you have only blank results and have 2 or more results, you may re-roll any number of your dice. So this right off the bat has a great symbiosis with Finn. Indeed, from first edition, this reminds me a lot of the Rey-Finn combo. Now, we don't yet have a pilot card for Rey revealed, but just speculating for the time being, I think this is a slight indication that Rey might be getting a design change, because Heroic seems to be very close to what Rey's doing. Although having said that, if you combo the two together, you wouldn't really get enough value out of the card, so I can see why they might want to put Rey's ability on other ships. Indeed, Rey's ability from first edition seems to be the kind of design that FFG want for the Resistance ships in second edition. So maybe having like a powered down, simpler version of Rey's ability, which any Resistance ship can take, is the design they want to take this in. And what's cool about that is that means any ship on the Resistance with a gunner slot immediately has some inbuilt combo with Finn, which is really cool. And although we did not see the text for Rose, I'm willing to bet that there is some benefit that Rose gives you if you're in that strategy. Maybe there's some combo with Rose and Finn. Maybe Rose and Finn on the Falcon is going to be a thing. This is all speculation based on what we can't see yet, but I thought I'd bring that up. Looks like there's some really strong internal synergy on the faction, which is always good to see. Apart from that, if we take a look at the bases we have here, we have a large base here. This must be for a Resistance bomber, Mr. Benteen. We have a Falcon base here for Rey. Rey's still in the game, of course. We have Initiative 5 near none on the T-70 X-Wing. Having a look at these dials on the left here, we have some stuff revealed. Red 3 banks, a full stop, and a red 1 turn. This is going to be the Resistance Bomber. And the one on the right will be for the T-65 X-Wing, which we're going to see in a second anyway, so I won't bother going through that right now. Oh, also one more base, we do have Elo Atsi in the T-70 X-Wing as well. Okay, let's scroll down to the spread that we see in the T-70 expansion pack. And as we can see, we have all these cards here. Oh, there it is, Joff Sea Striker. Okay, I don't know who that character is, but that's what that card was from the first spread. Now, having a look at this quick build card, speaking of which, we know at this stage that quick build cards give us an indication of what upgrades we should expect to get in the pack, but it's not necessarily an indication of which upgrades each ship can take. It seems like FFG are being a little bit flexible, especially with modifications, which was a bit misleading with the initial packs in Wave 1, but whatever. So we know this pack is going to come with a copy of Elusiveness, Afterburners, the new S-Foils for this ship, R2 Astromech, Shield Upgrade, and on the spread here we also have Targeting Synchronizer and Black 1. Now Black 1's really cool. This had a massive overhaul in the design, and this is representing what happened at the start of The Last Jedi, where Poe used that massive afterburner, that sort of one massive round engine on the back of his T-70 X-Wing, and did a slam action towards the First Order Dreadnought. And indeed, it comes with 1 charge, gives you the slam action. After you perform a slam action, lose 1 charge, then you may gain 1 ion token to remove 1 disarm token. If your charge is inactive, you cannot perform the slam action. So it's a one-off slam action, and then after you do it, you can actually choose to shoot if you take an ion token. And if you have an ion token, you must do a 1-4 the next turn and use a focus action, which may not be the end of the world, but if you allow your ship to shoot in the right situation, indeed it can be very difficult to see that slam action coming, considering you can dive on one of your opponent's ship. On Poe Dameron at Initiative 6, that just seems really vicious. Now, we don't have any costings for anything in Wave 2 yet. Hopefully those will come through soon, but I'm looking forward to that quite a lot. Oh, and Targeting Synchronizer was also revealed. It is a tech upgrade that requires the target lock action. While a friendly ship at range 1 to 2 performs an attack against a target you have locked, that ship ignores the target lock attack requirement. And this is essentially the first half of the old Targeting Synchronizer. They've gotten rid of the clause that that ship can also spend your target locks. It's a lot simpler and cleaner, and I like this design. And I'm very curious to see what kind of applications we have for this. It will depend on the costings, but I'm looking specifically at this alongside fire control systems. If the TIE SF or the Upsilon class shuttle still has both the tech and system slot, that could be a very interesting combo. It was potentially a good combo in first edition, didn't seem to have quite as much synergy and wasn't quite costed as effectively as it might be in second edition, so that's something worth looking out for sure. We also had the pilot card for Poe Dameron revealed. At least one of the pilot cards, if indeed FFG do decide to do 2 pilot cards like they did in first edition. I don't think they will, but it is something to look out for just in case. Poe Dameron at Initiative 6, Trigger Happy Flyboy, and this is an ability. Actually, before we go into the ability, let's talk about the X-Wing itself. Has Focus Target Lock Boost, Red 3 Primary in the forward arc, 2 Agility, 4 Hull and 3 Shield, so an increase on 1 hull from first edition. And it has the baked-in ability of Weapon Hardpoint, just like the Skik Fighter, which at first I was a bit taken aback about. I thought, hey, that's a unique thing for the Skik Fighter, but at the same time, this is a completely different kettle of fish putting on the X-Wing. It's a much more expensive ship, a much tankier ship than the Skik Fighter. I don't think this is a bad thing. In fact, I think it's good because it specifically gives the T-70 a strong distinction between it and the T-65. And just on that note, if we do continue to get new content from all the stuff that Disney's putting out with their cartoons, with the Resistance cartoon that's coming out, all about the earlier days of the Resistance and all about the dogfights and stuff. If we see the Grand Army of the Republic in that cartoon and we see the T-80 X-Wings, we may just get a third X-Wing in the game, and we are going to need every way we can possibly distinguish these 3 X-Wings as we can. So if Weapon Hardpoint is what we're going to go with the T-70, I'm all for it. Now, Poe Dameron's ability. After you perform an attack, you may spend 1 charge, of which you have 1 recurring, to perform a white action, treating it as red. Yes, Poe Dameron has pushed the limits. straight up, it doesn't matter what action it is, you may perform a white action. Now, I will say just quickly, it says a white action. I don't think that counts actions on upgrade cards because they are not coloured. White action to me says it must be on the action bar, but that might not be right depending on how the rules clarifies that. Something to look out for, but I'm pretty sure this is just a functional reprint of Push the Limits, which does have to be on the action bar. I don't care. This is awesome. When the S-foils on the T70 is closed, we have access to barrel roll, boost, boost, barrel roll, target lock, focus, focus, target lock, boost, target lock, focus, barrel roll, focus, barrel roll, target lock, barrel roll. Any other combination of things I didn't say there. This is insane. I'm sure Poe Dameron's not going to be cheap, but yeah. I get the impression that FFG went, well, you know what? Push the Limit was kind of cool. We don't want it available to every ship, but let's put it on the one pilot in the entire cinematic universe of Star Wars who is specifically credited for being an incredible pilot. Poe Dameron makes all the sense in the world. That is awesome. It'll come down to the costings, but even a really expensive costing, I don't think will keep him out of the meta. It just depends on what ships he can fly alongside. Maybe like a Poe Falcon build could be a thing moving forward. We'll see what happens when we get the costings for that anyway. And one last pilot we can see here on the X-Wing spread, Lieutenant Bastion. Initiative 2, after a ship at range 1 to 2 is dealt a damage card, you may acquire a lock on that ship. And this is very interesting because it does not say enemy or friendly ship. And we know in 2nd edition we can just target lock friendly ships, that's good, but there's no discernible upside for that without any combination of specific ship or upgrade card. And we don't have anything like that indicated right now, but this may indicate that we're going to get M9G8 in 2nd edition, which right off the bat would combo with this beautifully. It means you have a utility for your target locks on friendlies. I'd be very surprised if there at least wasn't some kind of effect like this in the pack, because that just makes the most sense. Lieutenant Bastion doesn't really get enough upside when he only works against enemy ships. He's not terrible, but it doesn't really strike me as the kind of thing the faction wants to be doing. Basically, it's about pushing across damage with one or more of your ships and getting upside from it. And it seems like a pretty decent ability. It doesn't wow me like Poe Dameron's ability, but it's cool nonetheless. Let's move down to the RZ2 A-Wing spread. And from what we can tell from these quick build cards, this is pretty much just an A-Wing with the tech slot slapped on there. We don't have a card for Zari Bangle, but we do have Talasan Lintra right here. He or she, I'm not really sure there, has initiative 5, and while an enemy ship inside your bullseye firing up performs an attack, you may spend 1 charge. If you do, the defender rolls 1 additional die. And that's interesting. We don't know how many charges they have, whether they're recurring or not, so it's a bit hard to judge how good that's going to be. But it rewards aggressive flying. It has a little bit of a group hug feel to it, but at the same time, it's more about, look at me, I'm showing off. I give my friendlies bonuses. In fact, the great thing is this ability also works on the pilot themselves, which is really cool to see. Also, Initiative 5, we have a Lulo Lampar, with a lot of commas in there. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. While your defender performs a primary attack, if you are stressed, you must roll 1 fewer defense die or 1 additional attack die. So that's really cool. We don't know about giving the ship too much agency to stress itself out. The dial is pretty forgiving, so there's not a whole lot of red on there just yet. We do know this also comes with prime thrusters, which gives you another little bit of upside if you are stressed. Well, it negates some of the downside of usually being stressed anyway, so that seems pretty good. But apart from that, we can't actually see all the stats of this ship. Now, I will say we have seen a few images come through from Gen Con of people taking snaps during the in-flight report, and we actually did have different looking spreads for both the A-Wing and the X-Wing, which is frustrating because we don't really have any good high-res images of them. But we do have an image that does show the bottom half of the A-Wing card, but it's just so pixelated I can't read it. Look, I'm sure over the next couple of days we'll have guys at Gen Con take pictures of this stuff, so hopefully that will filter through and we can talk about that a bit more in the coming days. But it has something to do with this mobile firing arc, of which the A-Wing has. You can can only rotate it to the front, and under some kind of circumstance you can point it in a different direction. We don't know exactly what that is. I'm not going to comment on that too much, but basically that really depends on how much agency you have to move it around and the timing. The later you can do that, the more powerful this gets. Hopefully it isn't so oppressive that you move the arc with perfect information, but I don't think that's what it's going to be here. I think it's going to be some kind of automatic movement in reaction to something, but it's not super responsive to like aces and that kind of stuff. Basically, the A-Wing has a gimbaled gun. It's more like a slightly gimbaled laser cannon than a turret, I guess you might say. Apart from that, here's the dial, and the only change from the RZ-1 A-Wing to the RZ-2 A-Wing is it has green 3 banks. Cool, no worries, no complaints there. And that is it for the Resistance, guys. Stay tuned. I'll talk about the First Order and the Mining Guild tie in the next couple of videos. We should be getting all of this by Christmas. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Reddit. And I'll catch you guys later.